Welcome to this edition of Math Dive in About 5. Today we'll be focusing on representing and interpreting data. I'm Barbara Knox.
And I'm Daryl Frost. Welcome.
Here is your first task. You're going to use the list of names that you see down below. These are the children in Mr. Simon's class. And we'd like you to make a frequency table and a line plot to represent this data. You're looking at the number of letters in their first names. Once you've created your frequency table and line plot, we want you to find the mean, mode, median, and range of the data set.
So six things.
Yes. See you back in a few minutes. Looking at the progression with BEST, we've been collecting data and answering questions about the data for quite a long time. Way back in second and first grade, they've even created some graphs.
And line plots they've been working with, even with maps.
Right. Thinking about what's new, in fourth grade this year, they're going to be working with mode, median, and range, but they're not coming to you with that because they didn't have it last year in fourth grade. So mean, median, mode, and range are all going to be new in fifth grade, and we're going to hopefully lead you through that with concrete tools.
All right, let's do it.
So here are the student names.
So I see the student names there, but I'm curious as to how many teachers that are participating actually used a concrete tool.
My guess is not many of you out there did.
Snap cubes, and I'm just like, if I look at Nico, there's 5 letters in the name Nico, so there's 5 snap cubes. That's what that looks like.
Correct.
And you've created towers, and each snap cube represents a letter in Nico's name. So
yes.
there's 5.
So we're going to be using these towers to help figure out the mean, mode, and range of the data set. With mode, we want to find the number that occurs most often, so the data point that occurs more than any of the other data points. I have ordered my towers from least to greatest, and when I look at that, I see I have 2 3-letter names, 3 4 letters, 4 5 letters, 6 6 letters, 3 7 letters, 2 8 letters, and 3 9 letters. So my mode is very easy to see. The most students in my class have how many letters in their name?
6.
Yes, because 6 occurred more often than any of the others.
So tell me what you think here. So just in terms of the logistics, I know when we started with the mean, they actually manipulated and put 6. But now you have to go back with mode and make sure you start with the number of letters that each student has.
Well, I'm going to basically sort them into piles, right? Here's my 3-letter names, my 4-letter names, 5-letter names, and so forth. And I'm going to see which one of those piles has the most. All right, on this slide, we're going to be looking at the median. We're going to be looking for the middle set of data. So I've got them in order from least to greatest, and I'm going to start on the outsides and work toward the inside until I get to that middle piece of data.
And I'm wondering here, because I know, like, if you think about representation, they record all those numbers you see at the bottom. They start crossing out. Couldn't they physically start moving those towers, like moving
they
them
could.
along?
Yeah, just move them off to the side until I get to the middle piece of data.
All right.
But now I know that my middle piece of data is 6 letters in a name, so my median is also 6. With the range of the data, we also want to look at them in order from least to greatest because I'm finding the difference between the greatest data point and the least data point. So in order to do that, I know that my greatest number of length of name is 9 letters, and my smallest name is 3 letters in the name. So I'm going to subtract 9, take away 3 to get my range.
One thing that I think is important that you did there is that you put so that those numbers are not so abstract. All this is being threaded through letters and names. Yes. It's 9 letters, take away 3 letters. So I think that labeling with this, so it's not such an abstract idea, would be important and help many students.
Yes. We're going to use the cube towers that we've created, and we're going to find the mean. So Daryl, what is the mean?
Well, the mean essentially is it's an equal distribution of whatever the set of data is. In this case, an equal distribution of the number of letters in each of the child's names in, let's just say, your classroom.
Correct.
Sometimes we call it the average. So you have all the towers there representing all kids, but how are we going to use that tool?
And I'm guessing that you, audience, as you were solving this, you probably added up all the letters and then you divided by the total number of students in the class, which I believe is 23.
Okay.
But here I'm going to just redistribute the cubes so that all of the towers are the same height.
And the kids could be manipulating this and figure. So this would be a good group task.
Yes.
And so I could see then I've equally distributed, all the towers are the same height. And if I count correctly, there are 6 cubes in each tower. So the mean number of letters is 6.
You are absolutely correct. Another thing that we asked you to do in your initial task was to create a frequency table. Here is what a frequency table might look like. I've got my number of letters in the names from 3 to 9. I have tally marks to represent the different names. So I go to Nico, I count 5 letters, I put a tally mark in 5. And then at the end, once I've tallied up all of the name lengths, then I can count to see how many of each letter length.
Makes sense. So here I've got my frequency table, and as you can see, I can connect from that frequency table, I can connect to a line plot and create a line plot. Barbara, what do those X's above each of those numbers represent?
Each of those X's is a student. So I know that I have 2 students with 3 letters in their name.
And so that would be important to ask, right? And
yes.
Also, students could have these towers showing the number. You haven't built them with the towers, and that still makes this concrete. So they could create their frequency table and the line plot from the towers that they created.
Correct. So we're going to look at using the data in a line plot.
Yeah, a representation.
Right, to figure out the mode, median, range, and mean.
So from the
more abstractly.
So I've moved from concrete, from those snap cubes, to now looking at it on a line plot, which is representational.
Correct.
Which is where you want to move students, because they're not going to have snap cubes on an assessment.
Right.
So they're going to have to, this is connecting that. Okay, I've got how many towers of kids that have 6 letters in their name.
So right now I can look at that data and I can see that there are more 6s above the 6 than any other. So I know that the mode is still 6. If I'm looking at the median, I'm looking for that middle data point. So I'm going to again start at the outside data and I'm going to try to find that middle data point. And here is my middle data point, which is a 6. That means that my median is 6.
Yep. And then
now looking at
the range. Yep.
So I'm still finding the difference between the longest name and the shortest name. So my longest name was 9 letters. My shortest name is 3 letters. And the difference in number of letters is 6. With the last one, with mean, we do need to look at adding all of these data points together. So I'm going to add 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 and so on till I've added all of my data points. There are 138 letters in total. I have 23 students in the class, so I'm going to take that 138, divide by 23, and I get my average length of name, which is 6 letters in a name.
And I like how you put the labels to it. There's 138 letters, so they could stack, if they needed to, stack all those snap cubes together, and that would be 138, right?
Yes, and then try to pass it out to 23 equal groups. Yes.
There you go.
All right, looking at our islands, we have our concrete, which is finding it using those snap cubes, right? Using the concrete things like snap cubes. Our representations would be our line plots, our frequency charts, and then the abstract thinking is using things like we did with the mean, where we're taking the numbers and we're using operations in order to figure out the mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Math Dive in 5. We'll see you back